everybody, and welcome to PlaidStallions Toy Ventures. I am Brian, your host, and in this episode, we will be talking about an annual trade I seem to have every year with my friend Blake, who is one of the roving reporters on the Aussie Toy Hunter channel. I'll leave a link, and I hope you will check it out. Blake finds some really eclectic and interesting things that I've never seen before, and then can't seemingly live without. I don't do a lot of trades, but I always do enjoy the experience. So, I thought I'd not only invite you along for this unboxing, but as an additional bonus, I never opened the boxes from the trade I did with Blake last year. I was trying to figure out what to do, and then I just forgot about them. So I mostly forget what's supposed to be in there, and I thought that would be a fun surprise for everyone to enjoy. So without further ado, let's dig into my Down Under treasure, shall we? Hang tight. So right off the bat, the first thing I opened, I do not remember, and that is 8-inch combat figures. They must have stayed up all night for that. In reality, this figure goes by multiple names around the world, and I believe some people have attributed it to a company called More Toys, but I think that's just one of many companies that released these. I think it basically became one of those items that a factory would produce for hire, like Soma did for so many years. It all is basically a knockoff of Mego's Action Jacks, and it also seems to share some tooling from Azrak Hamway Incorporated. They did a line called Adventure Man that's very similar to this. And honestly, if you were to try and collect all the different variations and iterations of these figures, I think it would take you a very, very long time to catalog all these. They are just everywhere, and I don't think anyone's really ever done a good job of trying to figure this out. A lot of it flies right under the radar of collectors. Here's a different release of this kind of figure. This is called Adventure Man. It is not by HI, but by a company just called GM. Probably not General Motors, probably more like General Merchandise. And you can see that they not only offered the military themes, but there's also this Western theme going on that is very close to the Gabriel Lone Ranger, and that is, of course, the beauty of the knockoff figure. I probably have somewhere around 25 different figures with this head in different iterations. Sometimes he's Zorro, sometimes he's a monster, and then a lot of the times he's just dressed in weird clothes. One of the things I really want to point out is I absolutely love the artwork style on this card. It's very of its era, and you know, they didn't spend a lot of time naming this guy, but at least they put some thought into the artwork, and it looks really great. I do not know if I'll ever be able to find the other two guys in this series, but that's okay. This next item is actually something I think Blake threw in for me, and I'm grateful for it. It is a 9-piece inflatable tent and camping set. This is one of those generic things that toy makers and department stores could get away with by creating something that would complement other people's toys and then just briefly mentioning them on the box. This case, it is a tent with a couple of chairs, a chessboard, and a raft. I like how they've kind of said it's, you know, it's from Maddie Maud. Big Yank, I don't know what Big Yank is. Barbie, Ken, Big Jim, Action Man, and G.I. Joe. So it really sets the era, as this is probably around 73 or 74. I wonder if Big Yank is supposed to be Fighting Yank. And of course we have cameos from Big Jim, Barbie, and I believe Ken. That's pretty cool. This kind of stuff was a really common practice in the early 70s. You'd always see this stuff in wish books, you know, inflatable furniture. And of course it isn't actually licensed Barbie furniture, but the store is going to try and sell it to you anyways. One of the things I do find curious is that none of the accessories pictured on the box, like the barbecue or the oars or anything like that, they're not in here. And I wonder how many kids were disappointed they weren't going to get a little guitar for Ken. As a kid, I could never turn down an inflatable raft, and I still can't as an adult. Next up is a set of Mighty Matt action figures. And you know they're action figures because they just have the word action with no exclamation mark written in the top left-hand corner. Wow. So maybe the toy's name is supposed to be Action Mighty Matt, or this is just some sort of instruction that children will get. Anyway, this series is a Western-themed toy line. Westerns were much more popular abroad than they were in North America during the 1970s. And that is really evidenced by all the, cool Western toys you can find in Germany, Belgium, France, Italy, and Australia in this case. These are actually Demo Man figures. I've talked about Demo Man before. He is a 8-inch knockoff made with a body that I believe is called a Tong body. And his head is absolutely 100% based on Big Jim. He pops up all over the world, and this is something of a controversial opinion, but I actually think that the Tong body is one of the best 8-inch toy bodies that ever existed. It's just so well made, even to this day. Just like the combat figure from earlier, there's multiple iterations of this character around the world. Aside from Demo Man, I think the most recognizable brand this one has is known just simply as Steve the Adventurer, or Steve the Pirate, or Steve the Clown, which was a pretty interesting Belgian toy line. They made a lot of toys using this figure. I wanted these because I've never heard of Mighty Matt, and the clothing was amazing. You've got this, rather respectable looking cowboy, and then you've just got the electric cowboy. This guy's wearing plaid pants and a silver spangled vest. And I can't think of a better representation of all the things I like for PlaidStallions than, a Big Jim 8-inch Mego Knock-Off wearing, funky plaid pants. This is my spirit animal now. This next item is actually the piece that inspired these trades in the first place. Blake shared this in the Mego Knock-Off headquarters Facebook group I have, and I just became obsessed with it. I had to know more about it. This is a Tarzan playset. I have no idea if it's licensed or if it's a bootleg, but I had to have it for 3 reasons. One, I love Tarzan toys from the 1970s. I was a huge fan of the Filmation cartoon, and that carried over into my collecting to this day. 2, I am predilected with Army Man scaled figures and playsets like this. I have a whole bunch based on Planet of the Apes, Kung Fu, that sort of thing, and this really fits in well with my collection. And 3, the Treehouse looks suspiciously like the same design that Mego used for Action Jackson, Dynamite, and Planet of the Apes. Being a Mego fan, I couldn't pass this up, and it can't be a coincidence. It's just such a cool toy. Also, this set includes some gorillas, a table, a bench, a cage, and a Jane figure. It really helps that Jane could also double for Nova from Planet of the Apes here, but that's a bit of a stretch. It's just amazing to be collecting for the better part of 40 years and still have something not only surprise you, but get excited about it. That's just a great feeling. And I've got one more Australian exclusive to reveal. And finally, we have a piece that I have been looking for since the late 1990s when I first heard about them. This is an officially licensed Buck Rogers Twiki action figure from a company called Croner Toys. I've covered this line in an earlier episode, and I'll leave a link to it here. Croner was an Australian company that by the early 1980s had become Mego's Down Under distributor. They carried such lines as the world's greatest superheroes, Chips, Pocket Superheroes, and of course Mego's Buck Rogers toy line, which was very popular in Australia. They also made their own figures, which are about twice the size of a 3 3/4 inch figure, and made out of a soft vinyl, almost like a dog chew toy. I don't believe that Croner used the Mego sculpts. I think they got their own. although I do think they resemble each other quite a bit. Croner Toys also created another figure range in this scale, and it was based on popular Australian football stars of the day, and it's called Footy Heroes. And these are courtesy of my friend Will, who goes by TolToys Kid on Instagram, and he's well worth a follow for stuff like this. Only 3 characters were made in this range: Buck Rogers, of course, Twiki, and Tiger Man. I'm lucky now to have all 3 in my collection. However, I doubt I will find all 3 carded, and that's fine. I'm a big Buck Rogers fan more than I'm a completist, and having Twiki and Buck loose and just having 1 carded figure in a range totally works for me. So I hope you've enjoyed my Australian toy trade. Thank you for watching, especially to the end. If you're new to this, I hope you will hit that like and subscribe button. If you're not new to this, please tell a friend. I'll be back soon with a look at a beloved toy line that I collect. Until next time, be well and talk toys, not other people. Cheers.